Friday morning, can't control it. Fired up and counting every minute. Hands are shaking, eyes are burning. The time has come, yeah, this is not a warning. The week was just so long, we had to let it go. Our problems disappeared, we're not tied up anymore. The weekend is here. Sunday calls, we are sick and tired. Up and down, can you feel it?
Hey everybody, welcome to the Johansson show. I'm joined by Chuck Mambo. Chuck, thank you for coming on.
Hey.
Really excited to have you on. I always remember like the progress shows that I'd go to, especially like Super Strong Style, where it's long weekends,
Yeah.
sun, especially Ali Pali where you're on the hill and you guys just come out entertaining the crowd, rock, paper, scissors, and
You're there.
yeah, I was the guy on the crutches for that one. I tore my
Oh, bummer, what happened?
MCL 5
shit.
days before Super Strong Style, and I was like, well, it's not needing surgery, just needing crutches. I was like, I'm still going to progress.
Oh my god, you're a hero.
Yeah, didn't realise how big Ali Pali was.
Pretty big hill.
I was like, the hill doesn't look that big. Started walking up the hill, and then you have to turn, and there's the hill. I was like, fuck's sake. So doing that with on MCL was ridiculous, but
Oh my god, I bet you just wanted to camp up the top.
lay down, and I started drinking at about 11. That's how bad it was.
Nice. That's Super Strong Style weekend.
Yeah. What is it about like those weekends? Because you can tell that you're just having fun as well, and like you enjoy interacting with the crowd and stuff like that. What is it about those weekends that are special for yourself?
I think I was talking to TK about this the other day. It's kind of a similar thing with the tapings at the moment, because it's like 4 days in a row, or I don't know, 3 days for Ali Pali, but like just like 3 days where you don't have to think about, like, you're just purely immersed in like the thing that you love with loads of the people that you love, and like obviously the crowd reaction is always so fucking sweet. And like when you go like 3 days in as well, I think it becomes like, it feels like you enter some sort of different part of your brain or something, where you're just fully immersed in like this wonderful, stupid, like wicked thing. And especially with that, like Strong Style, because to me that's always been like the coolest like goal on the indies for me, to be at like Strong Style, because when I watched either the first or second one, I forget, but like it just blew my mind. I was like, wow, this is the fucking best ever. So then like you're around so many great wrestlers that like are so much better than you. You can just watch them and like try and take some sort of knowledge from it. And just everyone backstage is like super supportive and like giving you advice and stuff and having fun. And also like a lot of the time with wrestling, you end up like somewhere, and you spend a lot of time with the people you're in a car with, because you like do the match, put the show down, and then like drive home. But you don't get to like spend that much time with like the people that are going back to like Wales or going back to the Midlands or so. So if you're all in a hotel together for a couple of days, it's like really fun to actually just get to chill out and like have breakfast together or whatever. Like, yeah, it's just like it's a bit like a holiday.
I can imagine. What's the tapings been like for you? Like wrestling in front of no crowd and stuff like that. How's that been?
Yeah, it's a bit strange, to be honest. I was kind of lucky, because I did some Rev Pro ones like in November or December or something, and I was like not in the flow of things. I hadn't really been training too much. Like I think I was like at the gym, but like I didn't have anyone to train with wrestling wise. And so like it was a bit shaky, but if nothing else, I got used to like wrestling in front of no one. And then for the progress tapings, what I suppose I was just like even more jazzed than to be wrestling. I was like wrestling Lycos in his return match for the start. So I was just like, well, any like nerves that I had has kind of turned into excitement anyway. And he's just like the man. He was doing all this like Yahweh style wrestling on me. I was just like stood there like, this is blowing my mind. Whoa. So, and I kind of tried to make a bit of an effort to fill the silence. One time I was wrestling Mark Haskins in like, it sounds like such a cliche, but like in a wrestling gym, not a wrestling gym, a high school gym or whatever. And he was like, oh, do you want to do anything today? I was like, oh, would you mind just like leading the match and like we won't plan really anything. And he was like, yeah, sure. And he just kicked my ass the whole time. Like, not the whole time. Like, he called some spots for me. But, like, when we came back, he was like, you can like, cool your own stuff in there. I was like, oh, yeah, that would have made more sense. So, like, but the other advice, that was what I was talking about. He was like, just try and fill the silence with noise. If it's awkward and silent with a crowd, then just like make noise yourself, and then it will be less awkward. So I was like, well, there is no crowd, so I will make tons of noise, which blows you up loads. but it was still fun. And then the other thing, Crowley and Hustle Malone on commentary, you can like hear that they're kind of like a crowd in themselves because they give it so much gusto. They
get so excited.
They really smashed it on the comms, eh? Yeah. I don't want that to sound like Mark Haskins took the piss or anything. He was the man. I just went out there and just didn't call anything. But then even then he called me stuff, so I definitely wasn't complaining about him. But yeah, that was a really good experience. But yeah, and then just the other thing, kind of like Super Strong Style weekend, because you get four days where just everyone doesn't have to think about lockdown or like shoot jobs or anything. It's just like hanging out with friends. It's really cool. And it's handy for us because we live like a half-hour walk away. So me and TK just walk through the park and then we're there. So that's pretty nice.
Especially in London, like to not have to get a tube or the bus anywhere, that's great.
Yeah, completely. And there's a lot of idiots on the tube and the bus. It's not that people just don't want to wear masks. They also want to get close to you and tell you why they don't want to wear masks. Like, dude, leave me alone.
I always remember when, I think it was the first lockdown, where Boris was like, they're going to be ending it. And I was still having to work as a key worker, and cool. I'd gone into a sandwich shop and I was just waiting for some food. And some guy was literally practically breathing on my neck. So I just turned around. I was like, look, can you back off a little bit? Like, I don't have to. I was like, well, you kind of do. He was like, no, Boris himself said the lockdown's over. And I was like, look, mate, it didn't say that. I was like, you still need to do your mask. You still need to do 2 meters. I was like, so please back up. Even if the lockdown wasn't happening, there's no reason in an empty shop for you to be that close.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
When I can get as close as I want. I could put your head through that window if I want. And I was just like, oh my God. I was like, just get me out of here. Yeah.
It's a crazy time.
He must have missed that close interaction with people.
I guess, yeah. If it wasn't COVID, you could have given him a hug, but...
Have you always lived in London?
No, I moved here when I was 18. I grew up in like some tiny village in the countryside. Yeah. And then I came here for a degree. And then, I tried to find a wrestling school, but I was like really not on the internet very well anyway, because Progress was like 2 miles away, the training school, but I just didn't know about it. So I ended up doing like amateur wrestling for a year, which was fun. Fun, but way grueling. And like I think they were only training like once a week. And I think for a sport like that, you have to train like 5 times a week.
Yeah.
So there was like not really any, I don't know, not very many good goals there that I could really realistically achieve. But luckily then I was in Shoreditch and saw a Defend Indie Wrestling sticker and Googled that, which led me to like a Facebook thing, which I think led to like the Defend Indie versus Screw Indie thing from Progress. And then like somehow I found the Progress training school. And so that was really lucky because they had some wild deal, because the like learning hours in, I guess it would have been like second year at uni. Oh, but I restarted because I changed subject. So I was basically in first year where you didn't have that much teaching time. And so you could train like 5 days a week at the wrestling school, which is, pretty sweet. And then later, Eddie made a point that his partner had said like, do you know, Mambo only found like wrestling in London because of the Defend Indie Wrestling stickers. And he was like, Yeah, and she was like, "Do you remember when we like first started going out? Anywhere you went, you put like defending the wrestling stickers in the toilet." So there's a good chance that Eddie Dennis is the reason I found wrestling in London.
For just putting stickers everywhere.
Yeah, guerrilla marketing, or whatever you call it.
How did you find the difference between amateur wrestling and pro wrestling then?
Yeah, I wasn't very good at amateur. Because I did it a bit when I was a teenager, pro wrestling.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't very good at that either. but I at least like I always think it was good because then by the time I got to progress training, like I had more or less the mechanics. Like I still had a lot of learning to do, but like I could listen to like the psychology more and understand that side of things. But yeah, so like on amateur, obviously everything you have to be like real tight and real quick. And like I was like loose and slow. And then I only did like one proper tournament, but I still hadn't really figured out what the rules were. They had this great coach. But anyway, yeah. This coach didn't really tell me the rules, just sent me in. And the first match this is so embarrassing, but I was like, I tried to kick out on 2 on a pin, but I forgot that like an amateur it's just like 1 pin done. So it's like a moron. And then, but because I'm like 6'2" or 3 or something, so I was maybe like 85 kilos. But the other guy in the contest in the next round was like a foot shorter than me and 85 kilos. And he wrapped around my waist. And I remember the coach was like, bridge up and turn in. So I tried to do that. And I just felt like one of my ribs fracture or something. I was just like, he jumped on for a pin. And I was like, well, I'm not even going to try and win this one. This sucks. So that was the end of my illustrious amateur career. But
amazing.
Nevertheless, the fitness that they like put themselves through was pretty insane. And so it's still like, I think it was still beneficial, but like, yeah, I would I wouldn't list it as one of my strong suits.
Did you ever tell them that you did amateur wrestling prior and they're expecting like Kurt Angle to walk through the door?
I did actually, to one of the coaches. I was like, they were like, have you ever wrestled before? I was like, oh yeah, like I did a bit back home for a couple of years, but I kind of like ran out of money and I just couldn't really get there all the time. And then I did like a year of amateur, and they were like, oh well, remind me not to fuck with you then. And I was just like, yeah.
Still living this persona now, and they listen to this and be like, oh.
Yeah.
Just destroyed the illusion.
Oh yeah, whoops, yeah. Because everyone thought I was such a tough guy until now.
That can be like a comedy spot for you in the future. Just get the singlet back out.
Oh yeah, now we're talking.
Amateur.
The singlet was cool too. I felt like Kurt Angle. It was like a reversible red and blue Adidas one.
Amazing. So how quickly did you find you picking up with progress then, like until you started being on their shows?
Yeah, so I think I was training for about 6 months, and I hadn't seen one of their actual live shows because I just distracted by other stuff. Hey,
you didn't know it existed at one point.
Yeah. Well, I'm such an idiot because the early progress shows were so cool. But I just like I was like all over the place. So I just moved to London, and like every night there was other stuff going on. I didn't really know about indie wrestling properly. And what happened? Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, I knew there was like a progress chapter coming up, and like just stupidly, I said to John, like, "Hey man, like I think I'm pretty good at wrestling. Like I've wrestled in front of crowds before. I could be on this show." And fortunately for me, John thought I was talking about the first endeavor, and he was like, "Oh yeah, we have plans to put you on that one, so that's good." And like, oh, could you imagine if I would have been on chapter 8 or 9? I'd been training at progress for like 6 months. I was terrible. It would have probably shattered me. But luckily, instead, I was on Endeavour, which was in like a way small pub in near Clapham or something like that. And but it's really cool because it feels like an old like medieval theatre or something, because it's like round with like a upper tier and stuff, and there's a nice small crowd, and they were like pretty supportive. Like they knew they were watching a trainee show, so so that was like a much nicer way to ease in. Although I was at the time I was wrestling in board shorts and no shoes, I think. And then on the second Endeavour, someone suggested doing like an axe handle off of the top rope to the floor, which sounded like a good idea, but like on the landing, it was just like I felt my heel go like ah. And luckily, there was only like 2 more spots in the match, and then we were done or something. But then afterwards, they were like, "Oh well, if you can still walk on it, then it's probably not broken." And so I just was like, all right, well, as long as I can walk on it, then it's not broken. It was pretty broken. But I think I still actually, because the Endeavours were really spread out, so I still managed to make it in just in time for Endeavour 3. So that was nice.
What was your first chapter experience like then?
Yeah, that was me, Believer, and Ali Armstrong in a triple threat for, I think it was like an MPS round 1 match or something like that. So that was fun. Like, I remember, I think we met up the day before to try and put the match together, and we were all so overwhelmed we couldn't really come up with anything. We all had like ideas and stuff there, and then I think Pasta like crucifix bombed me out of the ring, which was fun but hard. And yeah, it's kind of hard to remember really now, but I do remember like thinking, wow, we are great. And then you look back at that match and you're like, wow, I don't know why you thought you were great. But like when you get to that stage, you just think you're better than you are, I suppose, maybe. But yeah, looking back, there was an awful lot of room for improvement. But the people backstage were like so good. Like there were so many people that would be like, oh, this was good, like you should probably work more on that, or like that wasn't good, don't do that again.
Who was
cool.
it that...
My dad came up to watch it as well, which was nice.
Oh, great. Who was it that you'd normally go to for advice?
A lot of the time it's Eddie. Yeah. Just because I think he was like my first favorite British indie wrestler, and we have like lots in common, and he would teach at the Projo and Knuckle Locks and stuff. So I guess he was like a big influence on my philosophy on wrestling in the first place. And then so I'll go to him a lot, or like ask him advice even before matches, just like, oh, what do you think about this? Or like, is there a better way to do that? And then actually when the first chapter went on the network, he was just like text me without me even asking, just being like, hey, this is good, like this, you look good, this is yada yada, maybe you could change that. So that was really cool. And then nowadays at the tapings, it's pretty sweet because there's just like everyone has time to watch the matches and give you feedback. But especially Cara is like super helpful backstage, and like us as well. They're like they always have really insightful feedback, so that's handy.
Would you say them two are like two of the leaders backstage now with Progress? Because there has been a lot of changes.
Yeah, I think so. And as much as there are leaders, I think like Cara is like definitely, well, yeah, both of them are like the seasoned like wise guys that have like some of the most helpful advice, but also just it's pretty sweet at the moment because it's a pretty fairly new to Progress kind of roster. And there's not really like any egos or anything like that. Like anyone's feedback seems pretty welcome as far as I've seen. So like even if it's one of the newer people, that they'll have something to say and everyone takes it on board. So yeah, that's been really cool about it.
Oh, fantastic. So am I right in thinking shortly after your first chapter you'd gone to America for CZW?
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Well, Drake Younger was doing some seminars over in England. I went to like 2 of them, and I think I'd already made some friends. Oh, that's right. Yeah, I'd made some friends just at uni who I said like I'd go out and visit when I was 21. And then I was 10 and 21 that summer. So I messaged Drake and I was like, oh, hey man, I'm thinking about going to America. Like, is there any good people to get in touch with? And he was like, oh yeah, message DJ Hyde, and yeah, like just go check out those guys. And I was staying with a friend in New Jersey, so I thought it made sense that I could like stay with my friend and then just go and train at the school. But I didn't realize New Jersey is like the size of England. So I wound up like to go to the school. I was just, the only place I could find was this like hotel motel thing. So I jazzed way too much of my money way too quickly. But plus afterwards they were like, you know, if you ever want to just stay, you can just message us and like you can sleep on the school floor if you need to, or like someone might have a sofa for you. I was like, I really should have been more proactive. It saved a lot of money. But yeah, so that was really cool. And they do those like, what are they called? Dojo wars on a Wednesday, where it's like kind of trainees, and they were always really fun. And then he offered me a spot to like be in a squash match basically on one of the pay-per-views, and that was really fun. So yeah, that was cool. And it was in an ice rink, which was strange.
How did you find that though, working in like a second country and it's your second year actually being on shows?
Yeah.
How did you find that? Like, how was the experience of training under a new style and wrestling in front of a brand new audience?
I think it was oh yeah, wrestling in front of the new audience was that, because the dojo was, they were really like supportive and nice, because I guess everyone knew it was a trainee show, and like half the audience I guess was the guys that had just wrestled. But then on the actual pay-per-view it came out, and I was like, oh, I've done a progress chapter, you know, I did all those years when I was a teenager, like I feel pretty confident here. And I came out, and this guy in the crowd just goes like, who the fuck is this guy? He doesn't deserve to be here. And then they turned their back on me and started doing a Mexican wave. I was like, oh man. But I was like, I don't know, I think now if that happened I would be able to kind of like react to the situation or whatever. But at the time, I was just like, well, we'll just do the match that we have planned, and that will be great. And it wasn't. But, you know, I think all these things, even if you don't, and I did learn a lot from that match, but even bad experiences, if nothing else, they just like chip away one more bit of like nerves and experience or something. Like they make you a little bit more grounded and okay with the next uncomfortable situation. But training wise, it was really cool. Everyone was like really nice there, and it was like a real cool atmosphere, and learned some cool stuff. So yeah, it was cool.
Have you had any other moments where crowds have been like that, or crowds have not responded or where you was expecting and you was like, oh, what do I do?
I'm trying to I remember one time when I was real young doing a show like back in Gloucester. I think the guy I was wrestling had planned a lot of these comedy spots, but I was the one that was like supposed to be funny or whatever. And we were about 2 or 3 minutes into quite a lot of just bollocks at the start of the match. And one of the other wrestlers who was like, I think he was like more experienced than me, whatever. Anyway, he was just sat in the crowd and was just like, do some actual wrestling. And just a little bit of me died. Oh, but the best one, the funnest one, I was having a real fun match against Little Miss Roxy Tidal in that like Temple of Satan or something like that. It was really fun. It was like, sometimes I feel like the crowd just innately pop a bit more for like intergender, I don't know, but like she is sick and it's like bah 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 bah, and but then I took one of her moves just a bit bad, to be honest. Like she was doing all these cool things and I was taking them pretty well, and then it was like I'm on my knees and she gave me a Rana, and I wanted to, but I just didn't take it as well as she deserved, and the crowd were like, oh, and one guy in the front row was like, that's okay. And like luckily she's so good that she just carried on, and then like the next spot it was like back to like, oh, but like it's just that one bit stuck with me for years.
That's okay.
Like supportive, but like really acknowledging how terrible it was.
It's better than the usual shit you'd get for like.
Yeah, better than you fucked up. Yeah.
How do you deal with those sort of chants when you do get like a "you fucked up" chant?
Do you know? I think I've been like really lucky to wrestle in such a like.
I've never had a "you fucked up" chant.
Oh no, I mean I'm sure I must have, but for the most part, it's like such a kind audience these days that rather than like a "you fucked up" chant, something I find almost worse is like when you're expecting the reaction to be like "oh," and then it's just like "oh hey," and it was like a tenth of what you're expecting because the move didn't really deserve what you were hoping it would. That's like hard, but I guess all you can really do is try and quickly do something awesome if you can. Or but actually when I was doing that amateur, the coach there gave me some pretty good advice. He was talking about he was doing MMA now or something, but like when he's in a chokehold, he just tries to like get into the like nook of the elbow or whatever and just take like one breath to think before trying to fight about anything. So that's always pretty handy if something's going a little tits up, just to be able to try and find a second to be like okay. and then reassess.
Whilst we're on the topic of America, you'd been over a couple more times, from what I've seen. Like on, is it Revolver? You've done a couple of shows with.
Yeah. So I think Fight Club were taking me out for WrestleMania weekend, and then they messaged Sammy to see if I could get on Pancakes and Pile Drivers, and Sammy put me on that, and then was like, and if you want to come and stay in the summer, then come and stay in the summer, and I'll get you on as many shows as I can. I was like, oh, cool. So I did that, and then that Revolver show, I guess that was like 2019 against Ace Austin, was it was so fun. The crowd there are wild.
What is it about the crowd?
They were just so up for everything. Like, I don't know for sure, but I got the impression that a lot of the, oh, well, no, I do know for sure. A lot of the people, like, they weren't buying tickets in advance. It was like people that like show up on the day to come and watch wrestling. But like, I'm pretty sure that it was like repeat audience because they were popping huge for like specific bits that I feel like you'd have had to have been at the last show to have known about and stuff. But like, I didn't think they would know me or anything. And like, I'd been living with Ace whilst I was out there. So like, we were like cool and stuff. But like, what's my point here? Oh yeah, no, just like, it was cool to be in the ring with Ace because we'd been like living together for like 5 weeks or something. Yeah. And he'd been like real nice and showed me around and everything. But but I didn't think that the crowd would know who I was or anything like that. And like right before we went out, I was just like, oh, this is stupid. Like, I'm never gonna be a real good wrestler. And then like the music played, and then the crowd popped, and I ran out. And then that's like my favorite thing about wrestling, just when the crowd give you their energy, so you can give it back to them. And then like Ace was real fired up, and like just from like the first lockup, it was so fun. It just like flowed real nicely, and like So I don't know. I can't really answer what was particularly good about that crowd, other than they just like went crazy, which was nice.
Who else did you work with whilst you out there? I saw that there was AAW, and you also had Impact, where you was on TV with Impact Wrestling. And I remember a lot of people like, "What's Chuck doing in America?"
Yeah, right.
Was that Canada? The Impact taping?
Yeah, it was Canada. Yeah. Because how did that work? I went up. It was cool. They took me along to a taping at like Santino Morella's gym, which was fun. I was just like helping out on the show and stuff. But I'd driven Don Callis and Scott D'Amore like when they were in England one time, because me and Eddie used to drive up to Leighton Buzzard he'd take the training session. I'd just be the driver, really. But to like do training sessions there. And then one time, because Eddie was trained by Scott D'Amore and Scott was in the country, he was like, oh, if you want to come like check out a training session, then like cool. So they came along to the training session, but then Eddie was like, oh, could you drive them home? I don't really want them to have to get like a late train. That sucks. So I did. And I thought that like they were just tired and didn't really want to talk too much. But so I just kind of like let them be quiet. But then just as we were getting to the end of the trip, they suddenly wanted to talk loads, which was great. Because they had a lot of like cool stuff. But anyway, Sammy said to them like, oh, like we got this guy Chuck Mambo over here, and we'd like to try and get him on the show, I guess. And they were like, oh, can you send us some footage? And then I sent them some footage, and they were like, oh yeah, we know that guy, he like drove us around. Yeah, come on. And they were like just so nice. So that was really cool. And then I came along to the other tapings somewhere else in Canada. Oh, it was cool actually. It was like a big university, so it was like a even bigger venue. And then they're like, oh yeah, you have a match. I was like, oh sick. And yeah, it's pretty wild. Like yeah, just it's kind of crazy. I was trying to be like proactive, to be like, hey, well, I have this spot that I can put in, but like I didn't also want to be like, hey, we should do all my spots. But luckily I'd done like a good lot of matches with Wentz like even at Rockstar, I think maybe, but like mostly back home in like Fight Club and stuff. And so like anytime I suggested an idea, like Wentz would just be like, hey, I think maybe we could put that idea. I think we should do Mambo's idea. He like really looked at me getting everything in. So that was cool. And then I was just surprised because I was like, beforehand, I guess I was so nervous, like, oh my God, this is going to go on TV in 127 countries. And then like you go out and the crowd just pop because they're like kind of a family crowd and they were just happy to see wrestling. I was like, oh, wicked. Okay, well, this is good then.
No, definitely. Is it something you're hoping to do once pandemic's over, go back over to America?
Yeah, I would really like to. Yeah, definitely. Especially because it was just fun, like hanging out with Sammy and just take me to roller coasters and stuff. But yeah, there was like just so many cool companies out there that, yeah, I feel like the reaction was pretty good there, and there's a lot of great wrestlers there that would be fun to like wrestle again or get a chance to wrestle, because I didn't get to wrestle them when I was there. And obviously being on Impact would be just sick. So I would definitely like to do that if anyone's listening. Mr. Callis.
Other countries you've been to then? I know you've been to Italy, Portugal, and we'll get into Denmark shortly, but what were those two countries like?
Yeah, they were cool, man. I'm trying to remember because it was a few years ago. Portugal is a funny one because I think we must have flown out there separately, but me and Candy Floss were like there at a it was like a games convention thing.
All right.
And yeah, it's just some really funny games like Farmville, where the game is that you're a farmer. But I spent like a long time on that game. But all the guys there were really, really nice. And I think that was like a 2 or 3 day thing. I was like, was crashing on someone's sofa and hanging out. And that was really fun. But they had a huge ring. It was like a 20-foot ring, it felt like. So that was cool. But the bummer, I don't think I really got like a good reflection of like how much the Portuguese scene is, because it wasn't like wrestling fans at the thing. It was just like people really that didn't care that much. Although I say that, I had one match where I was against a good guy. I'd just gotten there, and I was like, I think I had to come straight from like a Riptide show or something, so I hadn't really slept, and I felt really bad because the guy that I wrestled was like really good, but I wanted to be better than I was in that match, and I just wasn't, and that was a shame. But then the next day, I don't know if it was the same guy, but I had like a really fun match. And actually, that felt like a real success because we managed to bring some people that had been kind of floating around. They actually came and like were watching the match and they're like, yeah. And so like that felt like a real victory, you know? So that was cool. And then I actually met Nico Angelo out there because he was training with a guy called Red Eagle in Portugal. Before I guess he started training at Dragon Pro in Newport. So that was interesting because yeah, it was just nice to meet him. And then Italy, I think I did a couple of shows in Italy. Maybe I just did the one actually, but it was good fun. I think I went with Laura Di Matteo, and there was a weird thing because at the time I was doing this YouTube show called Whiskey with Mambo, where like basically you just like the premise was that you would drink whiskey with a wrestler, but it was really just like 30 seconds to do like a gag with their gimmick, like it was Session Muff Martina and she outdrank me or like whatever. But but then they had the mayor of the town get in the ring and drink whiskey with me before my match, and like everything was in Italian, so I didn't know what they were saying, which is on me. I should have learned some, but like, yeah, I just had no idea what was going on. And then the mayor just like toasted me some whiskey, and I was like, cool, this is pretty sweet. But then we had a really fun triple threat, I want to say. And yeah, that was another one of those crowds where like they're just so fun. Like you can like do a body slam and then look at them and go like, ah, and then they're like, ah. So that was cool.
Well, obviously, I've done a lot of content with Bodyslam over the past year, and that's why I needed you to be on it. Like tag team not tag team, but using match of the year for 2020.
Oh
like,
yeah.
How does that feel? The fact that you've gone, because it was fan voted as well, and you've gone over to Denmark, and the fans and audience and the company as a whole is just taken to you, and you get put in the match of the year.
Yeah, really flattering, man. Honestly, so flattering. Because the Denmark shows are just the fun. It's like, I mean, I probably say this about every wrestling show I go to, but just everyone backstage is so nice. Like, just honestly so cool and chill. And like, particularly the Danish shows, there's just some characters backstage that are so funny. Like, you couldn't be nervous even if you wanted to, just because you're having too much fun. But yeah, like that was, I think I went to Boomtown Festival one year, and then I came back and like turned my phone on, and there was a message from Shikara being like, "Oh, would you like to be in King of Trios?" And I was like, no, sorry, not King of Trios. No, it was King of Trios, but I wasn't in the Trios tournament. It was in the Rey de Voladores thing. Anyway, there was a team there from Body Slammers.
Yeah.
I got talking to them, and I was like, "Oh man, I'd love to come like wrestle in Denmark." And then eventually, like, it actually did work out. And I'm trying to think what even my first match there would have been. Pretty sure it was a singles match against Valentine, I do believe. And oh man, just so much fun. He plays this like real sleazy, creepy. He's just a funny dude, man. And yeah, and just like from that first one, because I thought that I couldn't particularly tell if the crowd took to me or not, because they just are so up for everything. Like I feel like you could put anything out there and they'd just be like, yeah. But fortunately, they choose to put really good wrestling on, and then they just put me on. And so that was sweet. And then I went back there with Pasta, and we had like a really fun Christmas tag team match. Which was just like stupid but really fun. And yeah, and then me and TK, it was extra fun because like that's like kind of what we're trying to do going forward is like try and get the tag team over. So that was just such a fun place to try stuff out, because we tried to put in like exciting kind of like indie stuff, but for that crowd where like you can do, oh man, I felt like the Hulkster. I was just like, had someone by the head, and I pointed to this turnbuckle, ah, and the crowd were coming up, and then I pointed to that turnbuckle, ah, the crowd were coming up. I was like, ah, 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 just ramming someone's head into the turnbuckle.
Just like.
So like, yeah, it's such a pleasure when the audience give it like that much gusto, you know, like, yeah. and then obviously it fires you up to try and do everything better as well. And so yeah, it was just kind of the type of match that I'd like to do a lot more of, where it's not like necessarily like indie spot is like cool, exciting spot, big exciting thing, some heat, some real like the audience are actually booing, some hope. Oh shit, like, oh, just more exciting stuff. Like not like, yeah, I don't know. Like the difference between this, I'm kind of thinking out loud here. Maybe I don't make any sense, but the difference between like really, really cool and just like really, really fun. I don't know, because cool wrestling is cool too, though. So, but hopefully when wrestling's back, there's just so much everywhere that you get to do all of it. Cool, exciting wrestling.
But yeah, in the match of the year, it's quite fitting because obviously he was against Peter Alexander and Emeritus, and Emeritus was one of the people that was at the King of Trios for representing Bodyslam, and it's kind of come full circle for yourselves, and you guys got the win. So what is the plan? Are you wanting to go back over there? Because I know Randy Spanier are now tag team champions, but Easy Lovers was tag team of the year. But where does it stand for you guys when you beat Emeritus and Alexander in match of the year?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think we should be in the tag team title picture, I say.
Yeah,
I want to come back with an immediate shot at the champions. No, but I think I could be wrong. I'm pretty sure before the pandemic there was talk of us coming back to do more tag stuff. And it seems reasonable to me that if we had the match of the year and it was a tag match, then we should be in the running for the titles.
100%. 100%.
At least it's more tag.
But now you've been over there like 5 times now in total, and it's exciting to see that, because they want people that want to help build the scene, and the fact that you're constantly going out there and you're having a lot of fun and not treating it as like a payday essentially, and
stuff
like that. Who else has impressed you at Bodyslam? Like who you may not have worked with, or if you want to work with again, whether it's singles or tag team?
Oh yeah. I tell you what, I really like Captain Bodyslam. I just think he's the man. His heel turn got so much heat. And working Alexander and Emeritus was like a blast. And then, oh man, I'm coming up blank on the names. He is the champion there.
Here, Alexander.
Headlocks.
Oh, Michael Finn.
Michael Finn. Oh my god, I feel like an asshole for not remembering his name. He's such a good dude. But yeah, he is like great. Some of the matches that he has there, awesome. Like hopefully after the pandemic, people will bring him over to England a bit, because yeah, he's the man. Super charismatic as well, and like just really fun. And yeah, some of the moves he can do is wild. And he's mad over as well, so that's nice.
Now, I think hopefully like a lot more of the Scandinavian scene will get opportunities here in England, because the scene it's having their own mini boom, essentially, like from being to where they are now. And I think it helps with Bodyslam's presentation of everything looks amazing. And the Captain Bodyslam changing, like Jackpot, part of Easy Lovers. I love the Easy Lovers. I think that'd be a great.
God, yeah! How can I forget them? Yeah. Oh man, I really hope that we get to get.
You've got the tie-dye shirt. You could be like an honorary member.
Oh yeah. The Easy Sunshine Lovers. I don't know, something like that. Yeah. Oh man, I hate when someone asks me like, "Oh, who do you think is good?" Because I just come up blank. But there's obviously so many good people that, yeah. But yeah, I shouldn't have missed out the Easy Lovers. They're sick.
Is there any other countries that you've not gone to yet that you're wanting to travel to wrestle?
Yeah, well, in my ideal world, I would be able to just go to like all kinds of countries and find the wrestling. Like, I swear there was a while where Zack Sabre was going to just like travel through South America and wrestle on the way, which was like, that looks awesome. But yeah, I'd really, really, really love to get some time in Mexico, and Japan, obviously, because it's Japan. So yeah, hopefully before all is said and done, I'll get to both of those countries. But just need to figure it out, I guess.
So coming back to Progress, then obviously done quite a bit there over the few years. You had the Do Not Resuscitate faction as well. What was your thoughts on that faction? That face says a lot.
Could have been better. No, well, it was actually heaps of fun. Like doing the turn and stuff was really because what was it? Yeah, no, it was real fun getting to try and be a heel and like experiment with it, because I'd been a baddie on like oh no, my phone's not charging. Sorry, one sec. Oh, we still got power. Okay, well, if I disappear, it's not because I hung up. But oh, there we go. It's charging. Yeah, I'd been a baddie on like summer camps and stuff, but that wasn't like, yeah, it's a bit different. And then I got to do some really fun bad guy stuff at Attack with Nothing to Prove, and then I think possibly some of my heel work there was what Smallman saw, that he thought like, oh, that would be cool to have at Progress. So it was cool to like experiment with it in different places, because I wanted to like try and, part of me thought like, oh, well, if I'm going to be a heel, then I should take away like everything that I did, or maybe I should just do all the same stuff, but like try and be a dick about it. And then so just trying to like experiment with all that stuff was fun. And then like the huge match at Ali Pali was a blast. Oh, my favorite actually was we did that match at Bournemouth, I want to say, or something, in this like theater, and they like turned the lights off because we did this crowd dive or whatever, like off of the balcony, and like I guess they'd already told us that we shouldn't do that or something, so like the show nearly got shut down or whatever. But it was just so fun and exciting, man. Even though actually I like sprained my ankle in the first 5 minutes. It was awful. It was so swollen the next day because we were doing like a 4-day thing or 3-day thing or something like that. Yeah, and the final day in Birmingham, I was just hobbling along like, oh boy, at least it's a tag match. But no, generally, I mean, like, there's obviously some things that could have gone better, and like sometimes we have a bit of a laugh about like, oh, whatever. But it was still such a fun like chance to try and portray like another side and like experiment with other ways of like being the character and stuff. So yeah, overall, like a blast.
Yeah. What are some of your favorite moments from Progress then throughout your career there?
Yeah. Oh man, like wrestling Zaka Strong Style will always be like one of the best for sure. Because that was just such a blast. And then I remember in like, I knew it was the last thing that I had to do, so I just gave him like all of the oxygen that I had, slapping him, and then he put on some hold, and then like, yeah, you know, on like Game Boy screens on like Pokemon or whatever, when the game like phases out and it just like spirals in. I was just like in the hold. I was like, I think that's happening right now. I better give up. It's just like when you feel like you've given like literally everything, and then like coming back up to my feet, and the crowd were like cheering. That was really nice. And Sophie Owen and Warren were in the crowd, who are like two of just the best people ever, and they're wrestling fans, and I like saw them and they were clapping. I was just like, that's nice. So that was real cool. And my dad was at that one too, and I saw him at match afterwards, so that was like real nice. Trying to think of some of the other cool ones, to be honest. Like the promo with TK just the other day, that was really cool, because we've been trying to do ETM at what was ETM Progress for, I guess we've been like pitching it for a while, and then obviously pandemics will get in the way, but yeah, so that was like real fun because it was like kind of different to a lot of wrestling stuff. Yeah, so that was nice. I'm trying to think as well. To be honest, the turn for DNR, that was like a pretty exciting moment. Just like the atmosphere, the way it changed in the room, that was pretty damn cool.
100%.
Yeah, and I had a match with, I can't remember all of the thing, but like there was a point where there was like a tag match against Eddie. Maybe it was the one in Bournemouth, I don't know. But I was like in the, I'm trying to think what happened. I think he had someone on his shoulders, and then I ran and jumped, and he caught me in the like world's strongest slam position, where he does the fall away slam and Samoan drop at the same time. And like that was one of the first things when I was watching Progress, like when I just started training there and stuff. I was like, oh man, he does that every time, and it's the sickest. And then I was in there, and I just had like a little moment where I was like, oh, I'm in it now. Wow, this is cool. So yeah, I feel like I'm coming up blank on a lot of the other top moments. But yeah.
regarding TK, I know you've done a lot of matches against each other as well.
Yeah.
What's your best chemistry, teaming together or being opponents?
Ooh, that's a good question. Well, I suppose either way it works out because he does so many cool moves. Either I get to kick out of them and look good, or just be associated by being the team member and look kind of good. So either way is nice. I think, especially the matches we had at Riptide were kind of like perfect storms for matches in a way because Riptide like put such a rocket up both of our asses and like so the crowd were like really on board with the match and like we felt so comfy at those shows that like we were more willing to take like risks with matches and stuff. So I mean like that was like real good chemistry, but also the context of the match was quite specific, I guess. So like, but then when we're tagging, it's fun because we can just like pop each other and just kind of like riff with each other. Like one time we ended up doing like a double French tickler just because it seemed fun in the moment. and then like also because we live together, we can just like shoot ideas around all day, every day. And like sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad. But so I think probably I'll say as a tag team. Yeah.
Are you going to be keeping ETM as the name, or are you going with something different?
Yeah, we're going to go forward with the Sunshine Machine. Yeah, just to be honest with you, one of the things was we thought, well, if you're constantly saying escaping the mid card, then like you're reinforcing in everyone's head mid card. Yeah, so we didn't really want to do that, and we thought if there was a time to rebrand, it would be after like a year and a half off or something, basically. And then Sunshine Machine was already like what we were calling our finisher. That kind of encompasses the whole vibe pretty well, just like having fun. So yeah. How do you think about that name? I think it's all right.
I like it because it does scream like fun with the sunshine.
Yeah.
Then if you need to turn it up, you're both capable of doing that as well. So the machine can come into play that way.
Here's open.
How does it feel being on the network then? Yeah,
pretty cool, you know. Because my dream initially was always like, I want to be in WWE. So I mean, it's funny, isn't it? Because it is being on WWE, but it's not being on WWE at the same time, which is quite strange, but pretty sweet. Like, just from like a smug thing where people are like, oh, so like, where can I watch your wrestling? To be like, no.
WWE Network.
You get the WWE Network. So that's just kind of fun. And but what was my point? I've completely forgotten my point. Oh yeah, sometimes the bummer is people that like just kind of casually like, I don't know, like a friend from your shoot job or something, just like, oh, can I watch one of your matches? Like, well, not really, unless you want to pay $9.99 a month. Or you can watch some of the ones on YouTube, but most of the ones that are on YouTube are the ones that aren't worth paying for. But actually, that said, I think Riptide have me and TK on YouTube, so I always just show that one to people now. But pretty wild, yeah.
It's crazy.
It's nice.
It's because, like you said, it's not WWE, but it's the closest to WWE you can get without actually being on their shows. And how it seems is like Progress and ICW being on the network. It's like it's going to be like that grassroots tier system where the next step would be NXT UK, and it's like that. It's like a proving ground for NXT UK. It feels.
Yeah, something like that. I think. Yeah, and also just like cool to have more of a platform to show your wrestling, I guess. Yeah, because even people that, if your dream is not to go to WWE or whatever, like more people from around the world will see you when you're on the network. So it opens more doors, I think. I'm hoping.
You mentioned Riptide then. First ever Brighton champion. Like,
oh yeah.
How does it feel having that honor? Like, what's your thoughts on title belts as a whole?
I think it's really nice. Yeah, like it was definitely cool to have gotten the chance to be especially when you get to be the first one, I think, as well. Because I say we, like me and Spike and TK, and Candy Floss and Moser and stuff. We'd like been at Riptide since like the very first show. Yeah. And I think they did some quite smart stuff there. And like they booked like real big, huge matches, but like whilst getting people to care about like what was the undercard or the mid card or whatever at the time. And then like by the time they were doing the championship thing, it was like me and Spike, who were like nothing at the start, they'd like built us up to actually seem halfway decent wrestlers. So yeah, that was like, yeah, it was really cool, especially because Riptide had like, I guess, invested so much like time and energy in us. It meant a lot to me. So like to get to be the first champion was, yeah, pretty sweet. I think that might have been the first show that I brought my girlfriend to as well. Just like lamely trying to convince her that I was cool because I had a belt for a fake sport. But yeah, I do think it's nice though. Like if a company think enough of your work to like make you the champion, like I know it's all fake and stuff, but like the emotion, I guess, is real, and like if they think that you're good enough at making people excited enough or like to care enough to come to the show, then that's like flattering.
Yeah. No, 100%. And you've had some like great matches there. You mentioned Des earlier, and you faced the Rascals. You faced What were those two matches like against Rascals and Besties?
Oh man, yeah. Well, just mind blowing how good those guys are, to be honest with you. They were both teams that I like really wanted to wrestle for a long time. But I think it was like in the midst of like 4 matches in 3 days or something like that. So it was one of those ones where like they were really fun matches, but it would be even cooler if we get to do it again and it's like our only match for the night or something. So like the attention's not split and stuff. But just especially both teams, to be honest with you, how creative they are and how calm they are. Because I think me and TK, even now, I suppose we're kind of new at tag wrestling together, but like then we were even more new. And they'd be like saying like, oh yeah, well, you know, we'll do this, this, and this, and like this is a good idea. Like, what do you guys want to do? And we're like, you guys are cool. They even had like ideas for our moves, you know.
Yeah.
Like, oh, maybe you could catch me in the B-roll by like I do this. I was like, oh man, that's cool. Like, yeah, they were just like, yeah, it was pretty flattering that they would know our moves and like find ways into them. And yeah, just like so much more fun to be in the ring with teams like that are so relaxed when you're in there, but like so exciting to watch. I guess that's the real art of wrestling, hey, being relaxed and exciting at the same time. But man, how much are Rascals killing it on NXT? Do you see that match against the Grizzled Young Vets?
So good.
Oh,
so good.
Yeah. And when they jump, both of them, when they jump, it looks like they're on like there's like bungees or whatever from like a movie. Their dives are wild.
What they can do, it is ridiculous. Like they shouldn't be able to. Why would you even think of doing a backflip whilst your friend pushes you so you move whilst doing
I know.
Why would you even think could possibly land on my head? We'll try it anyways.
Yeah, give it a try. Yeah, I'm saying like it's so good to see them just getting this as a success they deserve as well. It's great.
No, 100%. You mentioned Mexico, you mentioned Japan, but what other goals do you have then going forward?
Well, might as well say me and TK would just love to wrestle on AEW. That would be like one of our huge goals, I think. I'd really love to do DDT as well because it just looks like so fun. And then outside of that, my main like goal, I suppose, would just be to see as much of the world as possible and wrestle as much as possible. Really, yeah. I'd love to have a match with Sue Young. Yeah.
Why Sue?
I just think she's such a fucking like interesting performer. And like exciting and cool and like kind of weird, and her moves are cool. Like, yeah, I'd really love to do that. And hopefully one day Miko Satomura as well. And Driller Maloney. I'd like to wrestle Driller in a singles. Or maybe a tag like 0121 versus Sunshine Machine.
Sunshine Machine.
Yeah. Yeah, just to like, I guess now try and wrestle all the tag teams that there are, I suppose. Yeah.
Is your goal Progress tag titles?
Oh yeah, all the tag titles.
All the belts.
Progress ones, then the Rev Pro ones, and then the AEW ones.
Oh no, brilliant. But no, Chuck, like it's been great having you on. Like it's good seeing you on the network with Progress, and obviously you work in Bodyslam and everywhere else. Like
and the Bodyslam ones.
There is so much more you've done and stuff like that. But no, thank you for coming on. I've really enjoyed it.
Thanks so much for having me, man. Yeah, it's been a real pleasure.
I know you don't really use social media as much, but where can people follow you on social media?
Yes, at Chuck Mambo on Instagram and Twitter. Yeah, I'm pretty bored on there at the moment. Sorry, not that much to talk about. And I believe by the time this goes out, you can go to sunshinemachinerules.bigcartel.com.
Oh, fantastic.
Buy all your sunshiny merch.
Brilliant. Well, I'll put all the links into the description so everybody can look at those for you. Best of luck with the rebranding of the tag team name for you and TK to go take over everywhere. And hopefully once the pandemic's buggered off and like AEW, because they're bound to come over here. They've got 3 different shows as well now with Elevation and Dark and Dynamite. Yeah. So hopefully you'll get the opportunity to impress with AEW as well.
Hell yeah. Oh, I forgot to mention Impact as well. I'd fucking love to be there.
Everywhere.
Yeah, all over the shop. That would be the best. Yeah, just everywhere. Well, thanks for having me, man. Yeah, I think the podcast is going well.
Thank you. Everybody hit like, hit subscribe. Until next time, bye for now.
Friday morning.